Hi everybody, it's Cindy from Ideas Times 2. Welcome back to our channel. It's been a while since I've done a video and I apologize for that. I have been a bit under the weather and had a really bad cough and haven't been able to get through a video without hacking a bit. So I've taken a break from that, and so I am back today with a tutorial. We're going to see how it goes. So I was thinking I would like to do a couple of smaller projects. I've done, if you've seen my flip throughs, I've done some very big projects, including a monstrous Frankenstein journal that was, the spine is like 3 3/4 inches, so pretty massive. And so I thought I would like to do some smaller projects, and I got this idea. I was inspired by an old video that I had on my Pinterest board, and I was scrolling through yesterday, and this video I pinned, gosh, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, and it was for a photo mini album, and it was so cute, and I thought with a few modifications I could turn that into a journal cover. So that's my plan for today. So the original inspiration came from a site called A Few Good Designs, and I believe her name is Elsa, and she did a couple of really super cute mini albums. And so I'm totally taking her idea, modifying it a bit, and turning it into a small journal that I thought would be perfect for travel, for keeping in your purse or your book bag or briefcase. And so that's my plan, but I don't have an exemplar. I haven't made one yet, and so hopefully by the end this will all work and it will all make sense. So thank you for joining me today as I muddle through this process trying to figure out how to turn her cute little mini album into a journal. So what you're going to need are your basic supplies, nothing fancy, because I am definitely not a fancy girl. So you'll need your scissors and paper cutter, ruler. You might want to have a pencil, and your bone folder is going to come in handy. You'll want to have some ink that coordinates with your paper, or paint. So ink, paint, even markers would work. If you have Sharpies or something handy. You'll also want some good glue or double-sided tape. And I think I'm going to use a little bit of washi today as well. So let's get started and see what happens. So the file folder I'm using is your standard file folder. I think it's 11 inches, 11.5 inches by 9 inches at the top, not including the tab, so just standard file folder. It does not matter where the tab is. However, my preference is that it is on the left, or sorry, on the right, so that it is on the back cover of the book, not on the front. If you don't have a file folder with the tab on the left, or sorry, on the right, and it's on the left side, all you have to do is turn your file folder inside out. And you can see I changed the direction of that. Now mine's on the left, but I want mine on the right. So if you have only one with a notch in the middle, you can you might have to modify a little bit, maybe cut it off, or it would be half of it would wind up being on the front and half on the back. So that might be something you want to play with. So I am going to, first thing I'm going to do is score some lines, and I'm going to score on the 5.5. I'm going to go over it a couple of times because I want to make sure that it goes all the way through both sides, and then again on the 6. So I'm just making a 1/2 inch spine. you can change that if you want. 3/4 of an inch, and just make sure that you move both lines, not just one or the other. You'll want to make sure that your back and front are even. But I just want a one signature small journal that I can keep in my my book bag. So I'm going to just use my scissors and cut on the front of the file folder. And I'm cutting at the score lines on both sides. But I'm not going to cut it off. I'm just cutting these two lines. And then I'm going to flip it up, and it will be an extra reinforcement for my spine. So I'm going to go ahead right away and glue that down. And I'm just using my Fabri-Tac today. But I think with this project, because it's not going to be a big journal, having using a glue stick or a double-sided tape would work just as well. Making sure that that is centered between the folds. And before I go any further, I'm going to make sure those creases are good. So that gives me just that 1/2 inch. I'm going to just put in one signature. All right, good start. All right, now on this side, I'm going to trim just a little bit, maybe 1/8 of an inch, kind of at a diagonal, with 1/8 of an inch at the top, what will be the top. And I'm going to go ahead and mark it before I cut, and I'm going to do this on both sides. This will allow for things to fold and not kind of get in the way. And same thing, just cut those. And you don't have to measure, you can just eyeball. And unlike the other one, we're going to cut those off. I think one thing with this project is you'll be able to be as elaborate or as simple as you want. I think I'm going to do fairly simple today, since this is my first one of these. Make sure those are well creased. Okay. Now I'm going to fold both of these, turn them into pockets, And this one I'm going to fold. I don't know if you can see the score marks that are already on the folder. I'm going to fold just to the top. I don't want to go to the fold. I want to go to below that by about 1/4 of an inch. And when I fold it, I'm going to make sure the outer edges are aligned. And the other one, I'm going to fold all the way up, because this one I don't think is going to be a pocket. I think it's going to be a flip. If you want to make this one a pocket, I would suggest folding it not quite all the way up to the fold. And I'm using my bone folder. I want to make sure these are well creased. All right, so then when the book is closed, they will both be flipped up, which I think is exactly what I want. And before I go any further, I'm going to put some washi tape on here to make sure that we have excuse me, a little bit more reinforcement. So I have are you going to help me pick, Lizzie? I grabbed 3 washi tapes, and my cat came over to see what I was doing, and I'm going to be decorating this. This is going to be a little bee journal, so I wanted to have a coordinating washi, and I think I'm going to go with the black, even though I'm starting to run out. Lizzie, could you get out of the way, please? Please, out of the way. Come on. Out of the way. Good girl. And I'm going to put some glue under here as well, because sometimes, if you use washi tape, you know that different quality washi tape doesn't stick as well as others, and sometimes if it's old, you've had it for a while, it doesn't stick. And I'm doing this now before we start decorating, so that the edges of the washi tape are under actually, I'm going to change my mind. Since this is 1/2 inch washi, I think it would be better to use a wider tape, but it still coordinates with my paper. And I want the edges to be underneath my papers. And I'm going to fold it again. I'm going to keep doing this, keep folding as we work to make sure that my creases stay loose, and there we go. And see, you can see on this side it didn't stick at all. So just another little bead of glue. It's okay, Lizzie. Amazon delivery just stopped by the house, and so the cat has to growl at the driver because she's defending her territory. He's just bringing her cat food. I don't know if anybody else has had problems finding cat food lately, but her favorite brand is hard to come by lately, and we had to order it, and it took almost 2 weeks to get here, and we were starting to get desperate. Almost out. Okay. And I did make a little bit of a mess, but it doesn't matter because that will be covered with paper. All right, before I do anything else, what I'm going to do is ink the whole thing, especially, well, not the whole thing, the edges of the whole thing. And even though I'm covering everything with paper, I want to make sure that if any of the file folder is visible, that it's aged a little bit. If you don't mind having the manila color there, and you don't need to worry about inking. If you would rather paint, go ahead and paint. If you have marker, use marker. I think this project is pretty forgiving. So I'm going to turn off the camera because nobody wants to see me ink for 5 minutes, but I'll be right back. Okay, I have everything inked, as you can see, and I think, Lizzie, what is your problem today? My goodness gracious. All day today, she has been quiet and sleeping or playing by herself, and as soon as I started filming, she has become restless. I think I'm going to put washi over the tab as well on both sides. It'll be not quite long enough on the back to cover the back as the way I would want. So I'm going to put another, oh come on, another piece of tape, a little bit more glue, and then of course I'm going to trim it so that the notches are there. Okay, and just a little trim. On each of the sides. Maybe I'll do the same on this tab. Starting to run low on my glue in this bottle, and it needs thinning out a little bit too. Yeah, this is getting a little messy. You know, if you don't want to use washi tape on these, you could leave them as is, of course, or use paper. You know, same thing on your spine if you would rather use paper, or if you have, you want to use cardstock or chipboard. Feel free to use what you have. I don't like doing tutorials for things, for projects that require a lot of supplies. So use what you have. So there's the basics. I'm going to move this off to the side, and I'm going to do the covers, front and back covers. And instead of just, decorating this as the cover and decorating this, I'm going to put separate covers on both the front and the back, and it will make the book sturdier, and will give us some nice big pockets as well. So I'm going to use some craft cardstock, and I wanted to do bees for this, so I'm going to use maybe a neutral. I think I'll use this, and because I am going to embellish the front, I'm not going to embellish the back, so I want something more neutral on the front. I might need that for something. I just love this lavender paper with the bees on it. It's also pretty. It's hard to decide. Maybe I will use this because it's a good neutral, but it has that little pop of yellow and gold. So I think that'll be really pretty. So I am going to cut my cardstock down to 6 by 9. So 6 inches wide, 9 inches tall. Kind of standard. Size for a notebook. And 9 inches. So just trim a couple of inches off the bottom. I'm not sure about that. Now that I see them together, love these together. I think that will be really pretty. And I'm just going to glue this down and then trim. Actually, I'm going to glue on this side. This is a little uneven. Using my Fabri-Tac. Yeah, I don't think this is a project that will take a lot of time, although I'm guessing I may have to do this in 2 parts just to make sure that we aren't going. I like to keep my videos about 30 minutes, no more than 40. I think it's going to take us more than that. When it comes to the decorating and embellishing, I think it'll take a little bit more time than that. So, going to make sure that's well glued. And I'm just going to use my scissors to cut this. Use your preferred method. I'm not the kind of person who can use an X-Acto knife. I shouldn't be allowed to have them because I can't cut a straight line with an X-Acto, but I think that looks really good for our back cover. And I am going to take this piece and glue it. This is our back, so I'm going to glue it to the left side, because we'll be able to see this, our book. This is a little bit bigger deliberately than the book cover, so it'll be about right here. And so I want to make sure that what is visible is something pretty, because this is going to be a pocket. Although I think I'm going to, this is uneven on all sides. I want to make sure that everything is even. So I think I'm just going to glue this down there. And then on the cover, I'm going to do the same thing, just different paper. If you want to use the same paper, that's fine. Does not matter. I'm using cardstock. If you would prefer to use scrapbooking paper, wrapping paper, coffee stain paper, whatever you have, it's all good. All good. Make sure that it's all even. And on the top, I think that looks good. I'll put that off to the side. Maybe I'll put it off to the side. Doesn't want to stay there. All right, and our cover, I am going to use this really pretty gold for the background. And same thing, I'm going to glue. If you want to have sewn edges as soon as your glue is dry, this would be the time to sew. I think I might do that. I like the vintage look, and kind of along with the vintage look for me is the sewing. So I think I'm going to sew my edges. I think it gives it kind of a, I don't know, finished look. So that's my plan. One thing about Fabri-Tac is, there are lots of good things about Fabri-Tac, but one really good thing about Fabri-Tac is it doesn't dry so fast that you can't manipulate and move things around, but it dries pretty fast, so it's easy to move on. So make sure everything is even. And with the size of this, 6 by 9, you can use one piece of 12 by 12 paper and have enough easily to do both the front and back covers. This was just a choice to do two different covers. If you prefer them to be the same, that is awesome too. So I think I'm going to use this for the cover, and I'm just going to cut off a couple of inches. just enough. Just a little bit of interest, something else to see. So today's a good day to craft. It is a little dreary outside and very cold. So it's a good day to stay inside, get some projects done, doing laundry. I think I have homework due tomorrow, so I probably need to get some studying done as well. But today's a good day for crafting. Excuse me. Like I said, I just cannot shake this cough. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to ink my edges and sew, but no reason for you to hang around for that. So I will be right back. Oh, okay, I'm back. And as you can see, I inked the edges of both the front and back covers and on the edge of the inside as well. And I sewed around the edges with a contrasting thread, just something to give it maybe a little bit more of a vintage feel. And now the next thing we need to do is glue the covers on the front and the back, and make sure that the side with the decorative paper is on the outside, and you're going to want to glue right up to the fold without going over the fold, like this. And on the inside it will look like this, with about a 1/2 inch overhang of the cover from the folio. And the reason for that is because we're going to leave this open on both sides to be pockets for tags or receipts or whatever, but I'm going to make tags to put in here. And that is our next step. So I'm going to glue around just the edges, 3 edges. I always keep my hand on the side where I'm not gluing, and I'm going to make sure and leave about that 1/2 inch margin up on the top. Don't want to have the glue where I don't need it. So I'm just going around the both short sides and the inside, long side, and I did it anyway. I wasn't thinking. Not a big deal, except now I have glue all over my fingers. So I'm going to make sure that this is aligned with the spine. And that when it's opened, that it opens cleanly. And I did get a little glue on this side, so I'm going to use my glue eraser. I think I say this on almost every video. If you don't have a glue eraser, that's a good investment. They're only a couple of dollars. You can get them on Amazon. They work great. So so much glue on my fingers. While I was sewing the covers, I had a text message, and I tried to open my phone. I had so much glue on my fingertips, it couldn't recognize my fingerprint. So, okay, now I'm going to do the same thing with the back. I'm going to be a little bit more careful this time. So this is going to go like this. Oh, I forgot to mention, while I had the camera off, I also put some washi on the spine. That might be a little too busy for you, but I thought since I already had it here, I'd stay coordinated. If I don't like it after it's dry, I might cover it with fabric. We'll have to see. Especially when I decide how I'm going to decorate the front. So I'm going to put glue again just on the 3 sides. This time I'll be a little bit more careful not to get it on that 1/2 inch on both sides. Right up against the fold. And that a good press on all 3 sides. Make sure that you're right on the fold. Not necessarily as important if you're going to cover it with something other than the washi. It also is going to depend on what I feel just a little glue seepage, as I'm decorating. Feels good. Awesome. That's a good start. We have our cover completely done, and the inside now is what we have left, and to put in a signature. But here we should have 2 nice big pockets. You could put tags, big cards, journaling cards in there. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to put in there yet. That is a problem for the next video, for part 2. But I think it's a good place to stop now that we have the cover finished. So, pretty easy. I think that's turning out well. I'm happy with this project so far, considering I didn't have an exemplar and I haven't made this before. I'm pretty pleased with the way it's turning out. So I think we'll leave it here for now, and I will be back with part 2 to decorate the inside, put in our signature, and fill our pockets. So thank you for joining me today. If you are into paper crafting and junk journals in particular, and you haven't subscribed, please do so. We love our subscribers and have giveaways pretty often. So just click the subscribe button if you want to get notifications. Click on that bell. Leave a positive comment. A thumbs up is always appreciated. And I hope you have a very fantastic week coming up. And I will see you next time on Ideas Times 2. Bye-bye, everybody.